There is one memory you never actually left behind, and Neville Goddard would tell you it is not sitting harmlessly in your past, it is still working. Somewhere in you there is a scene you keep returning to, a moment of humiliation, an argument you lost with the perfect answer arriving 3 hours too late, a day something broke that you have never quite set down. What if I told you that memory is not a record of what happened? What if it is a set of instructions you keep handing to your present self over and over without noticing you are the one delivering them? By the end of this video, you will understand why the past you keep replaying is not fixed, and you will have Neville's technique of revision in your hands, a precise way to return to that scene, re-edit it, and change who you are today by changing what you carry. Because here is the claim, and it is a hard one. The memory that hurts is not the problem because it hurts. It is the problem because it is still governing you. It is still shaping what you expect of yourself, still setting the ceiling on what you believe you deserve. And Neville taught that you can take the pen back. Most people treat their memories the way they treat the weather, something that happened to them, something outside their reach. You remember, you wince, you move on, and the scene files itself away, apparently closed. But it does not stay closed. It reopens at odd hours, and every time it plays, it votes on who you are. Revision is how you stop losing that vote.
Watch what actually happens when a painful memory returns. You do not simply recall the facts, you relive them. You feel the heat rise in your face, you hear the words again. You occupy the moment as if it were still unfolding. And in reliving it, you reach a conclusion, a small, quiet verdict about yourself. I am the kind of person this happens to. I am not enough for that room. I always freeze when it counts. That verdict is the real damage, not the event, the verdict. And the cruel design of an unrevised memory is that every replay signs it again. You rehearse the scene, and the rehearsal confirms the sentence you already passed on yourself. Neville understood something most people miss about memory. We think of it as storage, a shelf where the past sits waiting to be checked. He saw it as activity. A memory is not a photograph you keep. It is a scene you produce, freshly, every time you enter it. And because you produce it, you are responsible for how it plays. Think about how strange this is. The event lasted a minute. You have replayed it 10,000 times. Which one has actually shaped your life more? The single minute or the 10,000 replays? The original wounded you once. The replays have been wounding you ever since, and you have been the one running the projector. This is not a comfortable thought, and it is not meant to be, but it is the door. Because if you are the one producing the scene, then the scene is not sealed. It is not history in the way a stone is a stone. It is material, and material can be worked. The moment you feel the weight of that, one honest question surfaces. Which scene have you been signing your name to? Tell me in the comments, in one plain sentence, the verdict a memory keeps handing you. Naming it is where the revising begins. We say the past is behind us. It is a comforting phrase. It sounds like distance, like something we have walked away from and left in place. Neville saw it differently, and the difference is the whole teaching. The past is not behind you, it is inside you, and it is active, and it is here. Consider where a memory exists. Not on a calendar, not in some vault where old events are stored. A memory exists in your imagination, right now, in the present tense, every time you enter it. That old humiliation is not living in the year it happened, it is living in you, today, and it goes on issuing its instructions from the only place it has ever occupied, which is the present. This is why simply moving on so rarely works. You cannot walk away from something that travels with you. You cannot leave behind a scene that reconstitutes itself the instant you think of it. The distance you imagine between yourself and your past is a comforting illusion. There is no distance. The memory is as close as your next thought. Neville put the whole architecture of his teaching on this ground. Imagination is not a lesser reality, a place of make-believe below the real world. He held that imagination is where you actually live, and that the outer world is the harvest of what you have planted there. If that is true, then a scene replayed inside you is not a small private event. It is a seed, planted again, watered again, every single time. So the question is no longer whether the past is fixed, the question is what you keep planting when you return to it. And that changes everything, because a gardener who has been planting the same bitter seed for years is not trapped. He is simply holding the wrong seed. Revision hands him a different one.
So let us name the technique plainly. Neville called it revision. Not positive thinking about the past, not forgetting. Revision. The deliberate act of returning to a scene in your imagination and re-editing it, with feeling, until it plays the way it should have played. You choose a memory. You enter it the way you always do, except this time you do not let it run on its old track. You take hold of it and you change it. The word that landed, you unsay. The look that cut, you soften. The moment you froze, you let yourself move. You watch the scene resolve the way you wish it had resolved, and you stay inside the corrected version until it feels real, until it feels lived. That last part is not decoration. It is the entire mechanism. Neville was precise about this in his lecture, The Pruning Shears of Revision. He compared the practice to a gardener pruning a tree, cutting away the growth that went wrong so the tree can grow true. You are not erasing the past, you are pruning it, correcting the scenes that fell short so that something healthier grows from the same root. And notice what revision refuses to do. It does not argue with the memory. It does not analyze why the event happened or who was to blame. It does not ask you to understand your pain more deeply. It simply refilms the scene. Neville had no interest in your becoming an expert on your own wounds. He wanted the wound revised and then closed. There is a quiet audacity in this. You are claiming a right most people never claim, the right to author your own past. Not the facts of it, the facts are gone, but the version you carry, the scene that still runs inside you. That version is yours to rewrite, and Neville insisted the rewriting is not a game of pretend. It is the most practical thing you can do, because the version you carry is the one shaping you.
Here is the piece that separates revision from wishful thinking, and Neville built an entire book around it. The book is called Feeling is the Secret, published in 1944, and the title is the instruction. Not thinking is the secret, not visualizing is the secret, feeling. You can picture a corrected scene the way you picture a grocery list, flat and cold, and nothing will move. Neville was blunt about why. He taught that feeling is the creative agent, the force that presses an image into reality. In Feeling is the Secret, he made the mechanism plain. The subconscious never fails to express what has been impressed upon it. And what impresses the subconscious is not the picture, it is the feeling the picture carries. This is the claim on which the whole technique stands, so hold it clearly. Neville taught that a scene imagined with genuine emotion leaves the same imprint as a scene actually lived. The subconscious does not audit your memories for authenticity. It does not stamp one real and the other imagined. It accepts what arrives with feeling and treats it as true. So when you revise a memory with real emotion, you are not lying to yourself. You are handing your subconscious a new fact, and it takes the new fact the way it took the old one. That is why a lukewarm revision does nothing. If you refilm the scene but feel none of the relief, none of the warmth, none of the quiet victory of it having gone right, you have changed the picture and left the imprint untouched. The old feeling still wins because feeling is what registers. So when you revise, you are not aiming for a better picture, you are aiming for a real feeling. Stay in the corrected scene until your body believes it, until the relief is genuine, until you would swear it happened. That is the moment the new version begins to take the place of the old one as the memory your mind treats as true. If this way of thinking is landing for you, take a second to subscribe. There is a great deal more of this work here, and it builds.
Let me make this concrete, because a technique you cannot practice is just a nice idea. Here is how Neville's revision works, step by step, and none of it requires special conditions or a special state. First, choose one scene, not your whole history, one scene. The specific memory that keeps returning and keeps handing you its verdict. Name it precisely. The room, the person, the words, the moment it turned. Second, enter it. Close your eyes and let the scene begin as it truly happened, just for a breath, just enough to be inside it. You know this scene intimately. You have rehearsed it for years. Third, take the pen. At the moment it went wrong, stop and change what happens next. Rewrite the exchange. The thing you wish you had said, say it now and let it land well. The person who turned away, let them turn toward you. The moment you shrank, let yourself stand. Direct the scene to the ending it should have had. Fourth, and this is where most people quit too early, feel it. Do not watch the corrected scene from the outside like a film. Live it from within. Feel the relief in your chest, the ease in your shoulders, the quiet certainty that it went right. Stay there until the feeling is unmistakably real. Fifth, let it be finished. Do not reopen the old version to compare. When the memory tries to return on its old track, and it will, gently run the corrected version instead. Every replay of the new scene is another vote, and this time you are voting for the version you chose. That is the whole practice. It is repeatable, it costs nothing, and Neville taught it not as therapy, but as law. You are not managing a feeling, you are reauthoring a cause.
Now let us look honestly at the cost of leaving a memory unrevised, because this is where the teaching turns serious. An unrevised memory does not simply sit and ache. It legislates. It sets the terms of your present without ever announcing itself. Consider how it actually operates. The humiliation you never revised becomes the reason you do not raise your hand in the meeting, and you experience that silence as caution, as realism, never as an old scene still giving orders. The betrayal you never revised becomes the reserve you keep from the next person who tries to get close, and you call it wisdom. The failure you never revised becomes the ceiling you place on your next attempt, and you call it knowing your limits. This is the abyss Neville pointed to. Not a dramatic collapse, but a slow narrowing, a life quietly organized around scenes you have refused to touch. You think you are making free choices in the present, and much of the time you are executing verdicts passed years ago in rooms that no longer exist by a version of you that did not yet know it could rewrite the record. And the memory grows more solid the more you replay it untouched. Every uncorrected return deepens the groove. The scene becomes more real, more certain, more you. What began as one bad afternoon hardens into a fact about your character, and the fact starts recruiting evidence, arranging your life to keep proving itself right. Neville's word for the way out was pruning, and the image is exact. A branch left to grow wrong does not correct itself. It thickens in the wrong direction, and the whole tree bends to accommodate it. The unrevised memory is that branch. Left alone, it goes on shaping everything downstream of it. This is why revision is not a comfort, it is a correction, and correction is the only thing that stops the bending. There is a subtler danger here, and it is worth naming because it wears the mask of healing. The temptation is to soothe the memory instead of rewriting it, to make peace with the scene, to tell yourself it made you stronger, to file it under lessons learned, and to leave the scene itself exactly as it plays. Neville's revision asks for something more demanding than peace. It asks you to change the scene, not your attitude toward the scene. Because a memory you have merely accepted is still the old memory. You have decorated it, you have reconciled with it, but the imprint it leaves is unchanged. The subconscious still receives the original feeling, and the original feeling still shapes you. Acceptance calms the surface. Revision changes the cause. And notice the opposite temptation, which fails for the same reason, trying to forget, pushing the scene down, refusing to look, hoping distance will dissolve it. But you cannot revise what you will not enter. The memory you flee stays exactly as it was, running in the dark where you cannot reach it. Neville's method requires the opposite of avoidance. You go in on purpose. You enter the very scene you have been running from, and you change it while you are standing inside it. This is the discipline of it. Revision means entering the scene, taking hold of it, and directing it to a true ending, with enough feeling that the new ending becomes the one you carry. Anything gentler leaves the branch growing wrong. Neville asked for the pruning shears, and the pruning shears cut.
By the time Neville wrote The Law and the Promise in 1961, revision was no longer a small idea in his teaching. It had become central, and he filled that book with testimony, account after account of people who returned to a scene, rewrote it with feeling, and watched their outer circumstances rearranged to match the corrected version.
Neville framed these not as tricks, but as demonstrations of law. He argued that if imagination is the ground of reality, then a revised scene is a revised cause, and a revised cause bears revised fruit. He would not let his listeners treat revision as a private mental hygiene exercise with no consequence in the world. He insisted the world itself responds. Now, we hold these accounts as exactly what Neville called them, testimonies, the reports of people describing their own inner work and its results. That is the honest register for them, and it is also the powerful one, because Neville was not asking anyone to believe him. He was asking them to test it, to take a scene, revise it thoroughly, and watch. What matters for you is the principle under the stories. Neville taught that you are not editing a memory in isolation. You are editing the version of yourself that memory sustains. Rewrite the scene where you were small, and you are no longer sustaining the small self. Rewrite the scene where you failed, and you stop feeding the identity built on that failure. The past you carry and the person you are, in Neville's teaching, are the same material seen from two angles. Change one, and you have changed the other. This is the reframe that makes revision more than relief. It is not that you feel better about an old scene. It is that you become someone the old scene no longer fits.
So imagine it done. You have taken the scene that has been running you, and you have revised it, fully, with feeling, until the corrected version is the one that rises when the memory is touched. What actually changes? The event, of course, is unchanged. Neville never pretended otherwise. The words were said, the day happened, the facts are the facts. But the version you carry is new, and the version you carry is the one shaping you. So the verdict changes. The quiet sentence you kept signing, I am the kind of person this happens to, loses its evidence, because the scene that supplied the evidence now plays a different way inside you. And when the verdict changes, the present begins to move with it. The reserve you kept from people loosens, because the betrayal you carry no longer plays as betrayal. The ceiling you set on yourself rises, because the failure you carry no longer plays as failure. You did not force these changes in your behavior. You changed the scene they were growing from, and the behavior followed the scene, the way it always had, only now it is following a scene you chose. This is the promise underneath Neville's technique, and it is quietly enormous. You are not sentenced to the person your past made. That person was assembled from scenes you have been replaying, and the scenes are editable. Revise the scenes, and you revise the assembly. You become, over time, someone whose past supports the life you want, rather than the fear you inherited. Neville held that this is one of the most creative acts available to you, not building something new in the world, but returning to the record of who you have been and writing it true. Do this, and you are no longer running from the past. You have taken authorship of it, and in taking authorship of the past, you have taken authorship of yourself.
So return, one last time, to the memory you started this video carrying, the scene you keep replaying, the moment you have never quite set down. You now know what it actually is, not a record locked in a past that is behind you, but a living scene inside you, in the present, issuing its instructions every time you enter it. You know it has been shaping who you are, quietly, faithfully, for as long as you have left it untouched. And you know from Neville Goddard that it is not fixed, it is material, it is yours to rewrite. Revision is how you take the pen back. You choose the scene, you enter it, you direct it to the ending it should have had, and you stay in that ending until the feeling is real, because feeling is the imprint, and the imprint is what shapes you. You do not forget the past, and you do not merely make peace with it. You rewrite it, and in rewriting it, you rewrite who you are now. The single old scene that has been writing you does not get the last word. You do. So this week, take one memory, just one, and revise it the whole way through. Then tell me below what changed and which line of Neville stayed with you. If you want more of this work, subscribe and let us keep taking the pen back together.